Marc Henry back on the On Your Mark Show on 105.4 RPW, PeterPostRadio.com, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Also on the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. This is a big-time guest this week. Pay attention to the things we talk about today. This is a lot about recruiting, about what it takes to get seen. On the Championship 7v7 circuit and TruXposur circuit, one of the biggest circuits in the country. I got one of their scouts, Morris Sr, man. He's also with TruXposur Media. They cover football and sports during the seasons in the state of Texas. They're out of the San Antonio area. Shout out to Ariel Martin. Shout out to my guy, Jonathan Mumphrey over there at TruXposur and Championship 7v7. We're going to bring Mike Morris in. Come on in, Mike. How you doing?
Good. What's good, guys? Y'all doing good?
Oh, man, doing great, man. I appreciate you joining me here today. Now, let's talk a bit about what you do, okay? You're with TruXposur 7v7, Championship 7v7, and TruXposur Media. Right now, we're in the middle of the 7-on-7 season. You guys are one of the hottest circuits in the country. You've been going around. We kind of met face-to-face at the first event in Plano, but we didn't have a chance to catch up. This has been a long time coming here. Follow a lot of the work that you guys do with TruXposur during the football season the last couple of years as well, and with 7-on-7. So just kind of give us a little insight what you guys do on a 7-on-7 circuit going into, let's say you got the event you got coming up in Atlanta this week. What do you guys do, and what's the role of the scout for TruXposur?
So it kind of plays twofold. What we look for, like most guys, right? You look for that talent level. You look for the guys that are willing to show out on every play, right? And take no plays off. That's kind of what we're looking for. When scouts in general look at film, that's exactly what it is. This is a highlight film. We understand that you're going to get the best of the best with the athlete scout. Now, when we go out to events, just regular high school football, we're looking for, can you do what I saw on film, right? So for 7-on-7, you bring a little closer to it because now we get to see what you really look like. No pads, real size, no lid, right? We get to see what your face is, see your demeanor. All that plays in the factor of, a couple of things. One is that athletes, is he marketable, right? That's number one. Number two, when this athlete comes on and we're getting a good feel for, can he do what I saw on film, right? We get to see those transitions. But when it comes to 7-on-7, what you're able to shy away from in regular season, you can't shy away from in 7v7. You can't. Your football IQ, if it's not on point, we're going to see it. Your hustle skills, if it's not on point, we're going to see it. For DBs, if you look like you got ball hawk ability, when you come out to 7v7, we'll know real quick if you got it or not. So there's nowhere to hide on 7v7. So for that, it's a great exposure tool. But what I mean by that is there's a lot of athletes that hit the market and they're, your 3, 4, and 5-star athletes, they're going to get the looks, right? It's the 98% that we look for. The ones that aren't getting the looks, the quote unquote, the slept on, right? That's kind of what we're trying to focus on with what we do with Championship 7v7 and TruXposur is we want to focus on the athletes that don't get that love. And that's what we're here to change. We're going to change the game with it. We're constantly changing the narrative of what we do. And we're all about getting that extra exposure these athletes deserve.
Most definitely, you guys are doing it big, man. I've seen a lot of the things that you guys done the last couple of years. This year, it's really blowing up big. The tournament in Plano was big time. Lots of teams at all levels. And the thing about you guys is you don't just concentrate on high school. You guys start at the 10U, 12U, right, 14U. And those guys are traveling on your circuit each week and a couple times a month that you're having events. Talk about that and the emphasis on youth football as well.
Oh, that's a huge impact. For if you look back 10 years ago, right, they didn't have this. It wasn't at this level. I mean, they had I think you have two-hand touch. You have some flag football here and there. But when 7v7 kicked up, it really changed the game for these athletes. And what's cool is that you see these teams that I'm gonna use an example. I was gonna call them out. If you look at teams like the Bootleggers, right, they have divisions across all age groups, different groups within that same company. That same organization. So you get to see that transition come across from 10U, 12U on up. And what's good is that when you come 6 years ago, we see these kids that are 10U and look at where they're at now. Look at how many offers they picked up. Look at the exposure level. That's the beautiful part about it. And with us, I mean, we talked about it before, like social media has a huge impact on your recruitment process, whether it's good or bad, right? It can either make you or break you. But in either way, it can move fast for you too. So if you use it right, and use the exposure platform like we do, I mean, sky's the limit.
Most definitely. And the mantra that you guys have kicked up this year, we play football. Explain that to us a little bit.
Real talk, it's as simple as this. If you can't do it on Friday night, you can't do it with us. It's as simple.
No doubt. We play football. This is Mike Morris Sr with TruXposur Championship 7v7. He's one of the scouts for TruXposur. So when you're at the events, you need to look for this guy. They got a big one coming up in Atlanta, and they got one coming up here in Plano in a couple of weeks here in the DFW area, which, you know, I'll be around to attend that. And me and Mike finally met face-to-face a couple of months ago, actually, in January. So, Mike, now talk about the San Antonio area. You and Ariel are from the San Antonio area. Now, I'm in DFW, grew up in Houston, so I've been around Texas a lot. You know, we cover some of the same levels of football from 5A, 4A to 6A and everything in Texas. I had one of my guys from down there, Ricky Gonzalez II. Shout out to Ricky, who's one of the top 2023 receivers in your area in the state.
Yep.
They feel like they get slept on. Talk about SA a little bit.
So I'll break it down, right? Everybody talks about, you got Cali ball, Texas ball, Florida ball, Georgia, you name it, right? Everybody has their own bragging rights, and rightfully so. But when you talk Texas ball, I'm gonna touch a little bit on this because I've been in Florida, I've seen Florida ball. Whether you're South Florida or North Florida, it's Florida ball. It's the same system, right? Same thing with Cali. But when you look at Texas ball, Dallas plays ball to a different beat, right? So Dallas DFW area is different than Houston, different than San Antonio, different than RGV. That doesn't mean that RGV can't compete with Dallas. It just means it's a little bit different. They got different strong suits, right? So when we talk about San Antonio and the South Texas region, and it's been slept on, whether it's a company that doesn't want to put on an event in this area, or it's the athletes don't, you know, they feel like, yeah, you know, we're not good enough to compete at this level because we've seen everybody from Houston and Dallas competed at a whole nother level, bigger, you know, conglomerate, these other organizations come out there and hold these massive events out there. And everybody says, well, why me? Why me? Well, you got to change the narrative. And I keep saying it, you're going to hear me say it a lot, whether you know me or you see me on social media, we're constantly changing the narrative. So having said that, San Antonio, South Texas has been begging for a major event. And we told them, we're going to bring you a major event. But when we bring it to you, you better show up and you better show out. So we had San Antonio, 87 teams came in for a 7v7 tournament. It was massive at the facility. We had teams everywhere. The best part is it was in the middle of a COVID thing, right? So you look at COVID protocol, everything was followed. Everybody kept the rules. Everybody kept it clean. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. Back to the football side of it, right? We come in, 87 teams. Man, if you weren't at that event, you missed the movie. That's what it was. I mean, it was straight up everything San Antonio could have ever wanted. They showed up, they showed out. Teams came in from all across the nation too to compete at this level. And they came into San Antonio, realized, man, I didn't realize that, you know, San Antonio have ballers like this, but they do. And that's what we came out to show everybody, was that San Antonio can compete just like Dallas and Houston, just like, you know, Cali ball, Florida, everybody, we can compete just the same. All they want is an opportunity and a shot to do it. And they did it. So what does that mean? Look for more things to come for San Antonio and RGV, because we're changing the narrative.
Most definitely. That was one of the big time events so far this year. You guys put on the show, saw a lot of stuff on social media from it. And it went off without a hitch, and you guys did a great job. It's one reason I wanted to reach out to you guys, to let you know that you guys have been doing a great job. It's being seen and everybody's eyebrows are being raised. You guys are doing a great thing. Again, this is Mike Morris, one of the scouts for TruXposur Championship 7v7 here on the On Your Mark show on 105.4 RPW, PeterPulseRadio.com. Now let's talk a few prospects out of the SA. Mike, who's showing up right now? 2022 offers have come out, 2023 and 2024 on the clock. Who's coming out of SA right now?
Oh man, it's where do I even start? I think one of the top kids that are coming off my mind right now is Alan Caracho out of Cornerstone. Kid is just amazing. He's one of those utility knives that you want on your defense. Outstanding baller. And when I talk football IQ, kid's got it. I mean, he's on the up and up with his football IQ. And it's rare nowadays because, you know, I don't want to say the whole Dion thing or whatever, but when you see a DB wanting to come down and lay that wood, that's what you got in Allen. He's smart enough to know where he's at. He's smart enough to know where he needs to be. And I say that to jump into the next one is Aiden Estes Rodriguez. We call this kid the technician. The first time I saw him was a freshman playing for Brandeis. and incredibly technical kid. And no matter what event he goes to, he comes out with the MVP. I mean, this kid is on spot. I mean, he's good. I think another one that to touch base on is Colton Thomason out of Smithson Valley. Can't miss him. I mean, he's 6'7", 300 and something pounds. But he's got footwork like a running back. When you see a kid that big that can work his feet like that, kid's something special. So there's a whole list of athletes that can go down this list. We ain't got enough time in this time slot, but there's a whole list of kids that are in this area.
Well, that's just touching base, and believe me, we'll the closer it gets to the season and stuff, we'll definitely bring you and RL back on the same time or vice versa, man. Definitely chop it up about San Antonio. You know, in my experience, that's what I like to do. You know, also on the Top Texas Prospect Show, we shine the light on hidden gems. We kind of have the same mantra that you guys have. We'll talk to the 4-star and 5-star, but we also want to find that guy that's not getting love. You know, he just may not have been seen yet, you know, and that's kind of what we do. And On Your Mark show is the same way, man. And I appreciate you giving me some time to shed some light on some guys from SA. Now, let's talk about the circuit a little bit. If you want to touch base on back at the SIP, that was a lot of talent down there this week. Texas Air Raid came down there and took care of business in the 18U division, but that's a loaded team. You got Glenn Rice, you got Stephen Boogie Johnson, Broadway as well. Those are 3 Lancaster high school ballers that in the 2022 class that come back this year. But definitely you touched on Florida ball. Deep in Mississippi, there's a lot of talent, man. Talk about some of the guys that you saw that week.
So Mississippi ball is gritty. That's the best way I could put it. They don't back down for nothing, regardless of size. It's just gritty. Louisiana showed up as well out there, and they held their own. They do it like they did at every tournament. What I like about the bootleggers is when they show up, regardless of what age group or what squad, man, you know they're there to compete. I think the best team I'd seen in any tournament. No offense to anybody I watched, right? By all means, man, it's that 12U bootleggers. That was probably, I mean, everybody on that team was spot on with their job detail, what they were supposed to do, where the reads were. I mean, everything was spot on, and the coaching was legit. So that's probably the highlight for me is watching any of those bootlegger teams, especially that 12U. But Mississippi was man, how would I put it? The hospitality we got shown in Mississippi was amazing. The talent level was stout. Like I said, it was gritty. You know what I mean? Nobody backed down. But when you have teams like Air Raid, and like you said, that they're a loaded team, they're also very well coached. One of the co-founders of actually TruXposur is Jacob Maxwell, and he coaches the Air Raid team. But it's so systematic, right? It's like everybody knows their job. Yes, there's trash talk. Yes, there's fun with it because these guys are hanging out with each other outside after the game. But it's business. It's all business. It's always a business trip. That's probably the biggest takeaway when you watch Air Raid out there handling business. But when you turn around, you look at other teams that showed up, like 351 was out there. They have playmakers, kids that you would have I didn't even hear about before, to be honest with you. And you start to see where the recruitment is, and you talk to these kids that are legitimate. Like when you talk to somebody and you can talk scheme, and before you can even finish your sentence, they know what you're going to say and where they want you to put their body and how. So they've already got it here. And then you realize they have 0 offers, right? And it makes you think, man, what is wrong with this game? Why are we not? Is it the ranking system? I don't know. By the way, I'm not a big fan of the ranking system. Just gonna throw it out there. It's just because you went to a camp doesn't mean that you get ranked. Just because you go to certain events doesn't mean you get ranked. It takes guys honestly like us to go out there and find those kids that deserve the offers. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to change the narrative, right? We'll go out there and what is it that I can do for you, right? And by the way, when I say that, it's not like a brag, like, oh, well, come to me, I can help you. There is nothing that I or anybody else that does this can do for you what you haven't already done for yourself, except for I have connections. I have an extra set of eyes. I have an extra set of eyes that follow me. So let me brag about you a little bit. Give me a reason to brag about you. And then let's change it up. That's really what it's about. But to get back to what Mississippi was, I mean, it's one of those things that when you say, hey, man, you had to be here for that. It's really one of those things you had to be here for it because it changed it, right? Same thing when we went to Orlando. I saw kids that like Island Elite, right? It was a group of kids that I had never heard of before. And then I see this girl, her name was Donahue. Man, I can't remember her first name. Brooklyn Donahue. She was playing linebacker. And man, I haven't seen a more technical linebacker at that age group in a very long time. And not to knock it, right, but for it to come from a girl, but I was like, man, you guys got to take note of this. And that's when I knew that the 7-on-7, 7v7 for what we do at Championship has changed. And it's brought so much more exposure to that level, because, I mean, to say girls can't play football is foolish, because some of them are smarter than most other linebackers that I've seen. That's real talk.
Man, most definitely, man. And you guys are changing the narrative. It's going down. You definitely are putting people and kids on the map. Now, when they come to an event, one thing that I think that you and Ariel do is you put it out there on social media. Hey, come find us. We need this, this, and this, so that we can know that we can find you and make it easy to find you, make yourself more marketable. Talk about that a little bit.
So one of some of the biggest things before we start an event, right? We'll always reach out to the teams. Hey, if you guys are going to go, sign up, hit us up, follow us. We'll follow you back. The other thing is, coaches, get us your rosters. Get us your rosters with Twitter names so that we know who we're tagging at each event. Because at every championship event, we look for the MVP, right? And there might be multiples. That doesn't mean you're not going to, just because you get an award at an event, doesn't mean you're not going to get the exposure you need. And that's what we want to change. So when you come out there and we say, hit us up, find us. We're typically the guys with the camera and the bright shirts out there looking around. We're looking for the athletes. Find us, link up with us. You can find us on our personal Twitters. You can find us on our Championship 7v7 Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Same thing with TruXposur. So just find us, because we're going to find the talent that's out there. But now, honestly, because we're human, right? If you feel that you're being slept on, show me. Come up to me and say, hey, I need you to watch me. I've watched this. Okay, fine. I got you. Let me see it. Now, if I go out there and I watch you and you do what you do, best believe we're going to be in contact. If you don't, maybe you're just blowing smoke. I'm not sure. But real talk, I mean, I need to know if you think you're being slept on, hit us up. We'll find you.
Most definitely. You guys are finding it, man. We play football and they're getting the exposure through TruXposur and Championship 7v7. Now set up a little bit here. The Dirty South is coming up this weekend. You guys are in Atlanta. What are you looking forward to? Some of the teams that's coming in. Talk about that just a little bit.
Oh man, Atlanta has always been for me, it's been the underdog, right? It's been like a little hot pot. Georgia got some ball. So I'm really looking forward to hitting up Atlanta. We leave, we'll be out there Friday for early check-in, 7:30, 9 o'clock at the hotel, Team Hotel. That's kind of where we kind of just mingle with the parents, talk to the kids. We get a feel for who's really the outspoken one. We see if it transitions over to the weekend, but we're looking for some real ballers out there in Atlanta. I'm hoping, from what I've heard and from what I've seen on some media clips, the DBs are solid, and the receivers are the ones to look out for. And that's kind of what I'm looking to hope to see out there, is if some of these receivers stand out. You know, when you watch kids like Stephon Boogie Johnson, right? Kids got it. Right? You don't necessarily look at athletes to compete at that level, but if you can get a glimpse of what you see in Boogie and in some of these other receivers, then that's kind of what we look for. It's like, all right, let me help build your stock. I mean, real talk, that's what it's about, right? It's a money market for these kids with their name is, it's not about how many offers you get. It's about, are you getting the right offers? You know, when you commit, are you getting a school that fits you for what you want, right? This isn't about like, oh, I'm gonna get Alabama, I'm gonna go get Texas, I'm gonna go get Georgia. That's fine, but you're gonna sit for 3 years and wait your turn? You know, where's the real offer at? Do you want to start? Do you want to play? Well, let me show you where it's at. You know, let me get you some offers. Just because it's not your top D1 school doesn't mean they got scholarship money too. You know what I mean? You got to look for those opportunities.
Most definitely, man. And one mantra here on your Marc shows: go where you want it, go where they have a plan for you, and go to the best situation. It's not always about the Power Fives, not even about FBS. Let's go where you want it. Don't sleep on NAIA. Don't sleep on D3. Don't sleep on D2. If you ball, you'll get the call. They'll find you if you got professional aspirations. Do your business, take care of your business, and you'll get that particular offer. But, you know, in the time and days, you know, everybody's hung up on the offers and stuff. And the one thing that they don't understand, when you get an offer? Is it a committable offer? They're two different things. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's one thing you have to look at. I mean, just like anybody else, right? Collegiate recruiters, they gauge interest. And that's really what the game is. They gauge interest. And too many athletes don't know the do's and don'ts of the next level, what to expect, right? All that good stuff. And you got to understand when you're looking at your offer sheet, yeah, it's cool. You got an edit, post it. Cool, I get it. But is it committable? You know, what happens if you wait your turn and you say, well, I'm gonna wait my offers. I'm gonna see how many I can stack up. All right, well, while you stacking, they call that sleeping. So they're gonna move on, right? They got a certain amount of time where they want to get the best out of what they can. And I hate to say it like this, but in the recruitment game, you're a number. How high can you stock your number? It's that simple.
No doubt. You said it all in one thought. You're a number. They can offer 50 kids, but who's going to actually sign? That's the big deal. And the recruiting game it's not pretty sometimes. You know, it can be very ugly. But if you wade through the water, wade through the mud, and come out clean on the other side, then you do that. You get your education and you move on. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yep. Thanks.
All right, man. Again, Mike Morris, I appreciate you joining me here. Mike Morris from Championship 7v7 and TruXposur. Before we get out of here, Mike, give all your social medias out. If they haven't registered for the tournament, give that out as well, where they can go do that. Hit them up. Absolutely.
Hey, you guys, follow me on Twitter. My personal is MikeM_Scout. You can follow my boy RL Martin. It's _RL_Martin. We're the ones that you're going to link up with. You also have your TruXposur Media. It's TruXposur. Now, when you spell it for you, it's TruXposur_M_. That's our media page. Minus the M, you got our actual page. When you want to follow us on our circuit, it's Championship 7v7, not 7-on-7. 7v7. That's our Instagram and our Twitter. So we're constantly pushing out content, and y'all keep your head up for this, because we're about to change it up again. I keep saying changing the narrative, right? So the TruXposur Media side is switching things up. I don't know if y'all seen it. We posted a little episode, previous one over here. We got a Texas athlete put some out for us. Our boy Sam Martinez. Hey, y'all go check it out. We got a little insight on what we did in Plano. Stay tuned, because we're about to change things up. Definitely about to change things up, man. You're going to see a couple of big things coming here in the next couple of weeks. And we'll definitely be back in touch with you guys real soon, man. Appreciate you joining me here on the On Your Mark show. 105.4 RPWPThePulseRadio.com. We'll take a break and we'll be right back. I appreciate it.